Good evening. You're flying with Pod Squadron podcast. All wings report in. This is Andy, Pod Job standing by.
This is Tracy, Pod Tracer, standing by.
This is Lexi Podmay standing by.
All ships to attack formation. Mission objectives to talk about Star Wars in movies, streaming, animation, books, themed experiences, and your art and inspiration from the galaxy far, far away. Today's flight plan includes a little recap of Star Wars Celebration, but most of all, Andor Season 2, the first arc, episodes 1 through 3. For all of you out there, all comm channels are open. Follow us on Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram. Find us on Twitch and YouTube. Like and subscribe and hit the bell icon so you know when we have new content. But first, I'll be your squad leader for today. I am Andy Lowe, aka the Chinese Pirate. I'm a director, storyteller, puppeteer, performer, and fight choreographer. On my wing is Tracy.
Hi, I'm Tracy, also known as Hot Nerd Girl. Sans alcohol tonight, which I'm not thrilled about,
Aw.
but I'm here and I still occasionally cosplay. I cosplayed yesterday, so
Woohoo!
I can say legitimately that I am a
Yay!
cosplayer.
And on my other wing is Lexi.
Hi guys, Lexi. I'm Feral Geek on some social media. We're collectively on more social media than I even have accounts for, so yay. So you guys can find me the Feral Geek on Instagram and Facebook. Sometimes I even post. I am an event coordinator who designs cosplays they cannot afford to make in their spare time.
And of course, we are just one squad in this fleet. We're part of the Geekish Network. That's right here on YouTube, also on Facebook. As far as to attack position, we're going in. All right. So there's a lot to talk about right now. We went from a large drought to way too much. Of course, we just had the Star Wars Celebration was in Japan not that long ago. There was a lot of news that came out. First of all, they have announced Ryan Gosling will be starring in a new Star Wars film. This is the new film that is being headed by Sean Levy. Sean Levy, who was the writer director of the Deadpool and Wolverine movie. You guys excited for a Ryan Gosling uh, Star Wars film?
It's going to be that's a really interesting combination, and my mind is going all over the place, but I can't wait to see what they come up with.
Hope,
I'm just,
hopefully, it's
I'm gonna
fantastic.
I'm gonna show my age and say that I'm a huge Last Starfighter fan. So the name kind of threw me off a little bit because to me the only Starfighter is the Last Starfighter. So, but I also know that Ryan Gosling, like these people make good movies. So I'm
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what they come up with. I just wish that they had chosen a slightly different name for my own mental well-being.
So yeah, so referring to the title of Star Wars Starfighter, which there's a part of me that kind of wonders, did they just pick up all the pre-development work that they did for the Rogue Squadron film that
Mm.
was being developed by what's her name, Patty Jenkins? And if they said, "Hey, Sean Levy, here's all the stuff we started. Would you like to work with this?" Knowing that that was, another pilot-focused movie, but
Wait, is the fighter gonna be invisible?
the what?
Is the fighter gonna be invisible? Because it
The
was Patty
Starfighter?
Jenkins. Because it was
Oh,
Patty
ha
Jenkins.
ha ha
Uh,
ha.
sorry, that was a deep, deep
Yeah,
Wonder Woman cut.
I caught up eventually. Sorry.
Um,
And I'm not even
um,
caffeinated, Andy. You're buzzed.
let's see here. Yeah, so this is the one theatrical thing that's still like actually like confirmed. In theory, James Mangold still has his birth of the Jedi project. Taika is doing whatever Taika does. There's still things out there, but this is what we have solid because it is planned to release Memorial Day 2027. The other thing they announced, some fun stuff coming out of the animation panel. Two projects, of course, is Visions is having a volume 3, so we'll be seeing more uh, anime takes on Star Wars, as well as three more sequel shorts that will continue the stories of some of the previous other shorts. Um, they're also talking about a spin-off series that will be built off of the Volume 1 episode, The Ninth Jedi. So that is exciting. And that will be later this year, October 29th, 2025.
Hope
Keeping the
I hope
animation
we
studios
get.
in business.
Yeah. The other big animation announcement, and this was on no one's radar, I don't think. This was a big surprise. So Star Wars Maul, Shadow Lord. This is an animated show which seems to be taking up the whole Clone Wars mantle, and continuing the story of Darth Maul as he takes over the underworld.
I
Um,
think Disney is just contractually obligated to keep Sam Witwer employed.
Hey, I'm okay with that because Whitwer's pretty. He seems to be a good guy. He loves some Star Wars. He's deep on lore, so he's a man after my heart.
I've
Touching
loved him
back
since
on.
his. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying, touching back on. I wanted to get their name right, but touching back on Visions, I hope we get a follow up for the Cartoon Saloon, the Irish studio, Screecher's Reach, with the potential new Sith acolyte that fights
Mm.
the Sith in the cave and
So,
kills her and takes her
did,
saber. Anyway, I kind of hope we get a follow up for that one.
did you get to see the teaser that they
I have not yet. I have not
yeah, so the teaser, it looks like they went hard back into the Japanese anime this time. I mean, I could be wrong, of course. There could be some, like, of course, Korean studios and other, but it was very much in that more manga
Classic,
style.
kind of
Yeah.
classic manga style. Okay, well, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be a romp. All right, no,
Um,
back to Maul.
yeah, not much else to say. Sam Witwer, of course, is excited. Um, it'll be interesting to see if we see any other of the Clone Wars era characters kind of play into this too, right? Like, in theory, the Bad Batch are still out there. In theory, Rex and Ahsoka. Oh, actually, no, they did say. Actually, I don't know what for. Someone did say something about uh um Eckstein, Ashley Eckstein, coming back to voice Ahsoka for something, possibly for this. We'll see, but that will be fun. Yeah, so Mal Shadow Lord will be coming out in 2026, so we have a little wait for that. Um, all right. Any other big headlines? Any other things that you guys spotted from any of the Tokyo coverage that you guys want to highlight?
Aren't they going to do different variations of the storyline in the Star Wars ride, the Millennium Falcon ride? Some
Oh
others run.
yeah, that's a good
Oh,
one.
fun.
That's right. They did unveil some information about the update of the Millennium Falcon ride, and this will release alongside the release of the Mando and Grogu film, I believe next year. I think that's right. They also announced that Sigourney Weaver has joined that cast
Yes.
as some kind of general or pilot type leader character. Um, but yes, the new ride films or the new missions on the Millennium Falcon are tie-ins to that, and the idea is everyone goes to Tatooine, but after you finish whatever you do on Tatooine, the engineers get to choose what their second planet is, and they get to choose between, I believe, gosh, I can't remember what the three planets were. I think it was Cloud City was one of them. I don't remember what the other two were. Probably
Fun.
Coruscant and one others. But oh yes, and then also the engineer. This was got a lot of excitement. Is that the engineer's primary job will be to take care of Grogu.
Oh,
Oh, giving the people what they want.
is it BYOG? Is it bring your own Grogu?
I
Or do
I
they provide the Grogu?
I
Do I need to
provide
bring sanitizer for the Grogu?
I presume that Grogu is somewhere on a screen that you're in direct communication with or something. That would be my guess.
Lame.
It does make me wonder if they're going to swap out the animatronic, right? Because of course right now it's it's Jim Cummings um as Oh God, why am I blanking on his name?
It's
What?
okay, I am too.
Uh,
But I know.
uh, the pirate character. Oh, your old pal. Oh, shoot.
I
Oh
too
my
am
God.
blanking on the name. I'm sorry, I'm useless.
The pirate character. He was in all the freaking shows. Oh my God, why am I blanking? Okay. Oh well.
I can't remember.
But yeah, I kind of wondered if they'd reskin that animatronic and make it a Mandalorian who
Hmm.
does that briefing right now.
Hondo
Hondo Onaka.
Onaka.
Fuck.
There we go.
Okay,
We made
I had to
it.
Google it too. Yeah. Hondo
Brain fart.
Onaka.
Because I love me Hondo. Hondo's great.
But going back to that, the engineer is the boring. It's the most boring one to do. So like them doing, being able to take care of Grogu. That's a really inspired choice.
It's tricky because I always feel like every time I go on that ride, there's always someone who really doesn't want to do anything. And then it's like for the other people on
I
the
just want to enjoy the ride. I only rode it once and I was like, I don't know what's happening because I'm so focused on whatever I'm supposed to be doing. And I just want to ride the ride and enjoy the scenery.
Yeah, but you get to shoot stuff.
I think I was one of the pilots, so I was so focused on not crashing into things or something. And I was
Well, definitely looking forward to that. Also looking for having new variations on that ride just to keep it fresh because
That'll be
that
fun. That'll be
definitely
really
increases the rewritability. But with that, okay, let's get into Andor season 2. Um gosh, there's so much to talk about here. This is okay, let's start with this. First impressions, just like feelings from you guys about episodes 1 through 3.
I thought it was poetic.
Mm.
Yeah, I thought it was really poetic.
How about you, Tracy?
I not to skip ahead a little bit, but I thought that the juxtaposition of Vix being attacked and the rave at the wedding and the
Ugh.
cutbacks going back and forth kind of perfectly described the season so far.
Yeah.
I
Because
Um,
thought that was, yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I thought that was incredibly effective too, Tracy, because it showed two women who were powerful in their own right for different reasons, both being kind of coerced by a man, being, backed up, put in an unfortunate situation, and then getting out of it, but in a different way, and how that looks for somebody who's Mon Mothma versus how that looks for Bix, who's on the run.
Well,
But they're
also,
just
right,
just
like,
those cuts back and forth between these different storylines and and the way that they're kind of like zooming in, doing the quick
Mhm.
zooms and things like that, it like just
Yeah,
that like an overall impression of the season so far, like that's just where my mind goes because it's just like that's the feel of it, is that just these
yeah.
constant like just positions and like in your face and like doing it feels a little bit like DS9 for Star Trek, like in that
Mm.
it's a little bit of the black sheep. It's addressing things that have never been addressed in Star Wars before and really getting into like the nitty-gritty dark side of it. So it's very intriguing to me.
Yeah, so I don't want to go like about this the way we normally go. I don't think there's any point in going kind of beat by beat with this
mm,
because honestly, there has been so much discussion. Chances are all of you listening to us online have probably listened to rock stars or Ryan Airy or all those Star Wars Explained just as we have. I want to get into just like minutia and theme because the thing that I just was found so striking, right, is that within maybe the first 20 minutes of the first episode, after that first scene with the flight tech, I realized, oh shit, that's the thesis for this whole year, right? We know that they're going for 3 episodes for a year. And that question of is it worth it? Right? If I
mhm.
died tonight, is this worth it? And you have Cassian suddenly, compared to last year, he's all leadery, right? He gives this inspiring, wonderful speech. He says,
Kind
"This
of
makes it
echoing
worth it.
Luthen,
This right
right?
now,
Yeah.
being with you, being here at this moment, not even like Luthen, because this is optimistic. This is
Well, he is,
inspiring. Luthen
but I
is,
know what
but
Tracy's saying is that he says, you're not going to feel good unless you're actually trying to do something, which was a point that Luthen had made to him. So I remember what you're talking
And
about.
yeah.
sacrifice. Everybody's
Yeah,
gonna
and
have to
Right.
sacrifice.
sacrifice.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the question, right? What is the sacrifice? Is the sacrifice worth it? And that's from that point on, every single beat of this questions that, challenges that sacrifice, right? From, we have basically four main storylines here, right? We have we have Cassian stealing the thing, getting stuck on Yavin, getting
The
stuck in
TIE
the
Avenger.
middle. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, getting stuck in the middle of this fracturing rebel cell, right?
Well, they're like
Um,
neo-Republicans, right? Like they're trying to maintain the Republic as opposed to fighting the Empire.
uh, I mean, yes, but it's like I mean, that also calls back to one of Forrest
Emmett?
Whitaker's lines,
Oh
right?
no,
From
saw,
last
saw.
year when he
Yeah.
he he calls out all the names of the neo Republicans, or whatever, all of these different factions. They're all lost, he says, right? And that he sees himself as being the only person with clarity of purpose.
Mhm.
Um, but of course, it's still the question of all of these cells. They're all fired up, just has set it up, but with everyone having to hide in the shadows, with no one being able to name who they're working for, who their leader is, and create chain of command or anything. It really makes everything tenuous, right? Without trust, there is no unity. Um, and I know a lot of people kind of found that story arc a little annoying because they're annoying, but they're supposed to be. But
Yeah.
I absolutely loved how it mirrors, so many real societies that get locked in gridlock on minutia, right? And how, I mean, I used to do like a little bit of political work myself, and it's like consensus organizing. Everything is about consensus organizing. If you're working against that and you're just an activist, then you're working against the cause. Until you can build consensus through compromise, that's the thing. To do that, you need to be able to build trust, and that's what Luthen cannot do because he cannot reveal himself right now.
Hmm.
But
Which is why he
Cassian
says,
can.
but it's also, and Cassian is also, like you pointed out, Andy, a little bit more optimistic, and he knows that that's going to be more appealing for recruitment, and that's, I think, one of the other reasons he knows what he can't be, which is ever like the public leader, the public face. And that's why he says to Mon Mothma, like, we have to protect you
Yeah,
at the wedding.
yeah.
You have to be protected. Her
So that
image has to be protected too.
So that brings us into our next storyline, which is probably the one that everyone kind of walks away from the story thinking about the most, is Mon Mothma having to preside over her daughter's arranged wedding that she didn't want to do, but she agreed to so that Davos Skulden would basically help her launder money, um, to hide it from Imperial investigation in order to build for the rebellion, and
Foundation.
yeah, for the foundation, as it were.
For charity.
It's I mean, gosh, just at the beginning of this arc, the introduction of, we see her in her home, her daughter's like showing off her dress, and then we get that oneer. That oneer is just not only just incredible in terms of the performance that Genevieve O'Reilly is giving, where you see her navigate all the different worlds and all the different levels. She's gives happy smiles to one guest, and then she goes to pure like anxiety and tenseness because she can see Luthen has just landed. Then he runs into Tay, and she runs into Vel, her cousin, who of course we know is an
Her
operative and
sister.
knows.
I thought it
Uh,
was her sister.
oh, I thought cousin. Well, okay.
I'm trying
Anyway,
to
so
remember.
Cousin
I'm
Belle.
trying to remember what Leda calls her. If she, I don't know. Remember if she says cousin Belle or Auntie Belle. I don't
I think
remember.
she says Auntie Vel, but that would still make. I mean, that wouldn't
It
specify
doesn't
if she's.
matter.
It
It's
doesn't matter.
semantics.
They're relatives. They're
Yes,
related.
related.
I've been
Uh,
watching this season as if they're sisters, though. So I'm just
Fair
throwing
enough.
that out there.
They may. I mean, they're closest sisters. That's fair. Uh, Regardless, and then she says to her, "Have you seen who's here?" And she's like, "What? Who?" And then it's like continues on, and then it
Cousin.
smiles again. It
Cousin.
is cousin. Okay.
Oh, there you go.
And then it smiles, and then it's Tay Colma and Tay, of course, who was her good friend who helped broker this deal with Skulden, and who is acting a little shifty. And you can tell that she can see that something's up, but she doesn't quite know what it is. And then she has to turn and face Luthen. And before she can get anything out of him, Skulden is in play as well. And just kind of not only just watching her navigate all these different worlds, but also just
Seamlessly
like
going through warm smiles to stress and anxiety in front. It was like me walking around any party, to be honest. You put on a good face, right? Even though your like social anxiety is like, "Rah."
yeah. Um
I feel like
I,
they kind of like used a lot of Asian influence in this
oh yeah. I mean
wedding, or
that's
just their
another
culture in general.
I mean that's another thing, you can definitely see that there is a visual language for each space, right? Of course, we have the very Japanese influenced, of course, the robes, but as well as, the size of this set is phenomenal, right? Like she actually traverses all of these stairs. I really want to know where they shot this thing, but the way that Japanese castles, which I got to see some not that recently, um, um, uh, are very much about this kind of very sheltered, very protective, how the pathways intersect, right? And in addition to this constant allusion to circles, right? They say that's in the culture, and the way the marriage ceremony happens, where you see the daughter have to step over the branches, you
Mhm.
know, um, um, yeah, or even the screens
That
inside the
seemed
house and
more
all that.
like jumping the broom, which is more of a Black American thing, right? Because of
I don't know
slavery,
that
like
one.
that's how they marked their wedding,
Well,
was that they would jump over the broom.
Tell me more. I don't know this
I
one.
don't. I was gonna say I don't know. I'm not Black.
Yeah, no, like if you go to, especially people who are descendant from slaves who were brought over to America, they weren't allowed to wed on the different
Mhm.
plantations and whatnot. So they marked their wedding by jumping over a broom. So
Oh,
today you'll see a lot of Black weddings, they jump over a broom after they like when they're about to go down the aisle after the ceremony, they jump over a broom.
and what's the symbolism of that? Do you know, or
It's just, I mean, I don't know the deeper symbolism of it, just that that was how they marked it. Since nothing was legal, since they weren't
Hmm,
legally allowed to, that was how they marked it, like in the slave quarters.
interesting, very cool. That's worth some research. Yeah, just because I mean that's the thing. I mean,
You've never seen that before?
I've never seen that before. No, actually, but I'm intrigued by it, right? Because I mean that's the thing. There are so many choices, even small choices, that feel so intentional,
Mm-hmm.
right? Just down to the way they portray the Chandrilan culture, the way it is
Mhm.
structured, the way, this allusion to circles, the way the architecture kind of has kind of looming branches or leaves kind of falling down built into the chandelier pieces and all that, right? It's like there is constant kind of allusion to what is inside, what is outside, what is hidden, what is what is inside thought, what is outside thought, right? The arrangement of the tables and the banquet and all that too, right? Um, yeah, it's it's
It
it's
was
it's very cool.
beautiful.
Yeah. Compare that to the visual language, of course, of let's go to our next plot line of Cyril and Deidre, who have the creepiest, weirdest, cute meet cute ever.
Oh yeah. I swear, you guys, their couple's theme song is "Short Skirt, Long Jacket" by Cake. I've said it before, and I will say it again, and I will stick by that. "Short Skirt, Long Jacket" by Cake.
I mean, it's so interesting because, right, it's like you see him. Okay, so a year has passed, and we get to see him training some other person at the what is the
It's
department?
the it's the oh I wrote it down. It's the
Fuel purity, something something fuel purity.
It's the Imperial Bureau of Standards, and he's talking to the diet version of himself.
Yeah,
Trying to
so
get
well
him
it was
pumped up.
where he was. It was where he was the year before, getting that same speech from the guy, and he's and it was, yeah, so Department of Standards, and he worked in fuel purity. I
Right.
remember.
But it's also I love the bit he says I'm gonna mess up the line, but it was
Rodney says Temu Cyril.
Team Zero. But his whole thing of that oh there's like opportunity for those who are willing to take it, something like
Mhm.
that, right? Um,
Like,
which
this is
kind of
very important work here, I'll have you know.
yeah.
Big middle management vibes.
Yeah.
Middle management, a little bit of the uh um
Obviously compensating for a small penis. Is
yes.
that where we're going?
I was going for the oh, what are they called? God, my brain, I keep losing my thoughts. Talk amongst yourself. Hold on.
I honestly, I thought that the maneuvering of Dedra with his mother was just uh, so like peak Game of Thrones kind of
Deidre doesn't fuck around.
kind of kind of vibes. Like, ma'am, don't make me demonstrate what I do for a living, was kind of.
Well, Cyril's curled up
She
like
said it.
a
Yes.
ball.
While he's
Oh,
plopped on the bed.
he's
Like,
yeah, he had to go cool down. His CPU was overheating. He was done.
Yeah,
It's like
even
when you
just
leave
like
your iPhone out in the sun too long, you know, and
even
it
just
and
like
it
the little
freezes to cool
details
down.
of you see Deidre setting the table, she plops a fork onto each plate, and then like, you know, 2 minutes later, Cyril comes by, he's like, it's crooked. He like
Yeah,
has to adjust it.
they really lean into kind of like the Imperial stuff being very
minimalist
much a
and
shadow of like the Nazi party too. Like, she even
yeah,
says like, I grew up in an Imperial Kinderblock. Like,
Kinderblock.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's an important thing there, right? This
Oh,
idea that we first
super.
establish that she did not have a family.
Was a
Um,
ward of the state.
actually, I'm gonna go off track just a little bit because this line killed me. When the mother says, "Oh, so you never knew a mother's love," and she says, "I didn't know what I was missing."
Dang it.
Oh, so good.
Oh,
and
oh,
slamming
that
down the
was so
uncle that
good.
the mom like obviously thinks so highly
Yeah,
of, and she's like, no, I researched. I know
yeah.
his deal.
The
You
uncle,
might
Yeah.
want to
uncle,
stop
whatever.
mentioning his name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um. Yeah. It's so okay. So just pointing it out again that knowing that Deidre was an orphan, was raised in a kinder ward as they call it. Um. Um. That's more fuel for my fire that Deidre is actually Cassian's sister.
Oh God, I thought you said Cyril's sister, and I went.
That would be slightly
Sorry.
different.
Like, I've gone there before with Star Wars, you know.
That's true. I mean, it's just Star Wars after all.
Which,
Yeah,
brings me to, I have seen a small amount of pearl clutching over the attempted sexual assault. Partial, there was sexual assault, but the attempted rape and sexual assault. And I've seen a lot of, like, not a lot. I've seen a handful of very intense pearl clutching about, we don't need this in Star Wars. We've never seen this before. I'm sorry, did we forget about Jabba the Hutt?
Sure. Yeah. Slave
Because
girls all
there's
left and
that
right.
scene where he's grabbing her to lick her, and that's assault, and she kills him too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, kill
But
kill
that's
the
a big
rapist in
giant
classic Star
slug,
Wars.
not like a normal cis male who looks
I
like all
still saw.
these
I'm
other
sorry.
I don't
All I
know. I
saw
mean,
was
there's
a
some
giant.
cis
All I
males
saw
I've
was a
seen
slug.
that
All I saw was a man-sized slug.
I just say it, man.
But then, like at the same, so not only was there that, but then there's them going after people who work on a farm who don't have visas, and
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, oh, the maggots are gonna go nuts for this episode.
Yeah,
They're
no,
gonna be
I mean,
Yeah.
mad.
I honestly did that, and I went, oh, okay, let's go.
And of course, we know that, okay, this is all written years ago, right? This took 3 years for
Yeah,
them to produce. These
yeah,
scripts were
yeah.
locked
This was written
maybe
years
seven,
ago.
eight
Yep.
years ago. Um, but
Predicting the future.
yeah, or rather, unfortunately, humanity is
No, just
predictable.
Yeah.
just basing it off
Fair.
of the past. Not like we
Yeah.
haven't done this before.
Yeah.
We've done this many, many times.
It's just very timely when it's
Yes.
actually debuting.
Well,
Something
kind of like Daredevil Born Again, also very timely.
I know, right?
But
You can't escape
Oh,
this.
so good.
I'm like,
Sorry.
oh,
Daredevil
on a
Born
whole
Again and
tangent
I keep
Andor
trying to go
in
to
the
my
same year.
escapist. I keep trying to go to my escapist genre television. Then I'm like, well, shit.
But yeah, no, those two dropping the same year is
Also, okay, again, the repeating of the visual language with Bix of your first introduction to her this year is her in the nightmare and seeing the torturer
Yeah.
sneaking into the and of course grabbing at her leg and tugging at her when she
Mhm.
wakes up, and of course she's knocked out on the ground and you know again dragging by the foot, and it's like, oh God,
Woman. It's
like
great.
it is, I mean, every single detail is so intentional here.
Did you notice Cassian's mom, a picture of her on the wall
Yeah,
too?
Marva.
Marva.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also,
Rest in power, Marva.
there's largely not enough B2 emo.
I know, and he's playing with the kids, and he's like,
And
"You'll
he's
never
so
catch
cute.
You'll
that."
never catch me. You'll
He's
never
so
catch
cute.
me. Oh, jeez.
Is that water or is that robot urine?
It looked.
Golden showers for all the children.
I mean, okay.
Oh, no.
Seeing that droid though, it did make me think of, okay, so this droid exists purely to water plants. I just thought of like the pass the butter droid from
From Rick and
from
Morty.
Rick and Morty. I water plants. Oh God.
Oh God. That's why he's so emo.
Yes.
He figured out how simple his purpose was, and now he's depressed and he only lives for the people. Oh, probably too emo.
Um, Going back to some of the visual language, color palette too, right? Like we have the green of the jungles and just kind of the lush, the wetness
Of Yavin.
Yeah,
yes,
which
of
is
Yavin
revealed to
4.
be Oven. Yeah.
Then you
I
have
want to
that
see
to
if
the
any of those
big
guys end up as part of the rebels. Anyway,
then you have the big amber open fields of the farm planet, which I'm forgetting what it's called.
Amina Rao.
Then you have
Amina
like
Rao.
the cold, stark white,
washed out grays. Yeah.
grays of their apartment together.
That whole thing, those sharp angles, like when
Yeah.
she's walking with her boss that I can't think of his name, like very austere.
Yeah. All the minimalism. All the minimalism.
And then the lushness of Chandrila,
Yeah.
Mhm.
The warmth of the
the
light.
mountains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just the other thing too, of course, kind of also going back to what you guys were talking about with the attempted rape scene too, right? And that contrasting with the dance, the intercutting too, there is some really amazing subtle stuff happening with rack of focus too, right? Where, as you get deeper inside someone's head or outside of someone's head, the way the backgrounds kind of are blurring in and out or coming into focus. Yeah, there's so much amazing kind of subtlety happening
Yeah.
there.
Mon Mothma getting drunker, Bix getting her head slammed into the wall and being in a daze, both involve like the brain but in different, like it's two such extremes.
And like I mentioned at the beginning, Mon Mothma is undergoing mental pressure, mental violence, having to cope with the knowledge that by going along with Luthen, she has just condemned her childhood friend to death, which, we'll get to that one. But, she was, I think, up until that point, hopeful that she could keep from making any dirty decisions and just, pay Tay off. And of course, Luthen is his cold and calculating and pragmatic self, and basically tells her, like, once a liability, always a liability. That was his, like, we must protect you, you must be protected.
Right.
One thing
Which
I
makes
noticed,
me feel like what's going on her mind. Like I would feel both imposter syndrome, confusion about why I need to be saved, like what's gonna happen, what the future, like all the thoughts that must have been going in her head during that time of when Luthen said that to her. Like why? Like
he says that line. He has, "Oh, that's so nice of you," or something like that, right? Where he's basically
he says, "How nice for you."
How nice for you, because she has this thought. Her thoughts aren't like that dark, right? She's still sort of living in this sort of like idealized,
a little bit of naivete.
Yeah, naivety.
She thinks she can pay him hush money. Yeah. She thinks she can pay him hush money, and because he's her friend, the problem will go away. Luthen sees this guy is about to crack. He's a liability. And if he's willing to do this once, things are not going to get easier. He'll do it again. Or somebody will figure out he's the weak link and they will take him and crack him. And he's like, we have a loose end. So, of course, he calls in Cinta.
So you're saying that a drunk, rich, white guy is bad for operational security?
I mean, usually.
He was going to send classified information out in a text.
Okay, noted.
Another one we need to remove from the equation.
Many Bothans were added to the single chat.
They actually, that's why they all died. They accidentally added Vader.
Yes, there we go. Also, okay, slightly undersung hero in all of this, and not hero like I think he's heroic, but I'm gonna call it now. I am expecting some kind of redemption arc for Perrin.
Why was he wearing blue and all the other parents were wearing gold, by the way? Sorry, I didn't mean to go off on a tangent. He was the only parent wearing blue, and it weirded me out.
Maybe it's a father of the bride thing? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
No, I was gonna say I did want to chime in a little bit about Perrin, because on my rewatch today, there's a lot of scenes, because and obviously I did listen to a Tony Gilroy podcast interview, and he was pointing out a few things, so I was like looking for it. But in Perrin, there's a lot of scenes where he's looking intently at her and Tay Koma.
Yeah.
Right. So obviously they want you to think that, oh, he's just like the jealous husband, all this stuff. But I think there's two possibilities going to what you're saying, Andy, is he's actually a spy for the rebels, like, and
Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and they don't know.
Yeah. Or like he's been told by Luthen to keep an eye on her, to protect her.
Oh man.
Or he's spying for the Empire.
Or he's spying for the Empire. Yeah. Or he's spying for the Empire. And
he just is suspicious that something is going on and he doesn't know what.
Yeah.
But there's so many layers to Andor, so it makes me think that it's more of, he's not just the jealous husband.
Well, and there's layers to the relationship.
Yeah,
there's so much said in the silences between them, right? It's fascinating. Also, it's his little his toast. I think after, like, the first time I watched it, I stopped it and I rewound because I wanted to listen to it again. Because he's talking, he's giving his wisdom to the kids, and he's basically just saying, find the time to embrace joy, which is,
it was actually good toast.
It's a good toast.
Actually really good toast.
Honestly, in hard times, like, you're talking self-care, man.
Yeah. He said, hard times will find you. basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Which
having an
does,
arranged marriage, like try to find like the
I
good
mean,
moments.
it
You're
does
kind of stuck in this.
yeah, and that hard times will find you thing, if any of if the theories about him being some sort of similarly involved on either side, this hard times will find you thing would be a very subtle tip off of him being more aware than he lets on his persona to be.
Yeah. I mean,
It
and of
could be
course
passed off as a
we know
dad
that
platitude.
he does not escape with Mon Mothma
Mm-hmm.
when she has to run for it after the Gorman
And
massacre.
is that because he makes a valiant last stand, or because he's the one who turns her in,
Right.
or
We shall find out.
I also am somewhat expecting some kind of redemptive turn for Skulden too, right? Like I just keep thinking of the mob bosses in The Rocketeer. It's like, hey, I may be a two-bit punk, but but I ain't no Nazi.
I think the kids are gonna
that
die,
could be fun
or at least Leda. I think she's gonna die.
later.
Either she's
Yeah,
gonna die or she's actually gonna full on turn into a Hitler Youth or something.
she is a C word. Don't get me wrong, for sure.
God, that scene is heartbreaking.
I think I think there is a certain amount of I I I think that while yes to the heartbreak and it being genuine with her pushing her mother away, and I think because of the dysfunctional arranged marriage, Mon Mothma, then she genuinely means what she says,
Yeah.
and she feels like it's her duty as a mother to say it, but also the shrewd politician, rebel, faux charity running, rebel money laundering Mon Mothma knows that her daughter needs to go through with this wedding. And she personally just witnessed her daughter just the other day crying because this kid won't hold her hand.
Hmm.
And I think she got a way to both say what she felt like she had to say as a mother, while knowing full well that it would reverse psychology, pathological
Oh,
demand
you think?
avoidance,
Oh, you
push her
you think
daughter.
that was intentional?
Well, I think she knew. I think she knew. She's a mom. She's
Yeah.
smart. She's a politician. I think she knew that if she said that, her daughter with their relationship would be like pathological, demand avoidance. Okay, yeah. Well, you know what, mom? Now I'm going to get married even harder because that's been their relationship, right?
Yeah.
She knows if she says that, her
See,
daughter's going to do
I
it. She's
totally
not
read that.
stupid.
That's an
Well, but
interesting take. I totally read it a different way, but yeah,
I
I
knew
could
she
see
like.
that.
I mean, I think it still hurt her. Of
Yeah.
course, it hurt her. Of course, it hurt her. But I think she knew she was going to have to do that. She's like, well, it's my duty as a mother to say it. Also, it assures that the wedding will go through because there's no way she's going to listen to me. I guess I'll take this one for the team.
Yeah.
And then you see her kind of close that off with the, well, you wanted tradition, you got tradition. You walk behind me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love that moment too of you follow me. Yeah, it's very fascinating.
The thing that made me think that there were that many, like the duality of why she did it, she thought through what she was going to say. She thought
Mhm.
it through really hard. So there's no way she didn't know that there was a good chance her daughter was going to go, I'm going to do exactly the opposite of whatever you say, mom. And she knew it would hurt, and she also knew that she needs the wedding to go through, and also she can get that off her chest and be like, I was honest with you.
Yeah.
She gets to do her duty as a mother. But I think the reason that I think that is because she uses that you walk behind me to compose herself and get the tear
Yeah,
off of
get
her
the tear off.
face.
I mean,
So she's
it's
got
like
a double
there's
purpose
something
for that
though.
action as well.
There's something though also about the previous scene where she, comforts her when, after the whole "he won't hold my hand"
Mhm.
They're such
thing.
children. They're such
Totally,
babies.
right?
Such babies.
But like for that moment, and you get like, oh gosh, she's finally actually getting an opportunity to connect with her daughter for once, just for a
Mhm.
moment, right? Um, um, yeah, I don't know. It set me up pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, they definitely gave you a little emotional lift just to drop you hard.
But of course,
And
it's
I
still this
wish you
thing,
were
right?
drunk. And she said, "Bet."
It speaks to kind of how everyone is a little bit in over their head, right? We
Mhm.
have the rebels who are just, you know, making every bad decision possible, and like every time Cassian says, you should maybe collect the rainwater, and like, shut up,
Yeah.
go collect the rainwater.
Yeah. Every bad decision is kind of a good energy for this entire arc, because even right down to Krennic's boardroom meeting, his super top secret insiders only, which we know eventually leads to the Gorman massacre. Like, for fascists, that's really good decisions if you want to be a fascist that they were making. But I mean, from the perspective of, no, you don't want to be a fascist. That whole board meeting, the propagandists, the logistics people, the military people, they're in
How
they're in
about a
that they're in
plague?
that room to strip mine a planet, let it implode or explode or whatever the hell it does, and let a bunch of people die. Yep. Let's talk practically about how we're going to sell this to the galaxy, make it palatable for them, and get what we want out of it resource wise.
Right.
And they're such cute little Dutch spider wranglers.
Spider things, right? I
with
know.
with their slightly Swiss but also kind of bagpipe kind of
Yeah.
horn thing.
Yeah.
So innocent.
So it's interesting, and I'm. You guys might know this already too, but they did talk about how he was very intentional about that scene, and that it was basically supposed to be like literally the Nazis' Wannsee convention where they,
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
crow's nest or eagle's nest.
They
Yeah, up on the mountaintop.
yeah,
A little,
they
yeah.
they had a little convention where just a bunch of guys, a bunch of Nazis, and they just decided how to do the final solution. And it was like meticulously recorded. They kept copious notes on it, and they just had this convention where they decided, okay, this is the final solution, and they attacked it from all these different angles. And
That
All
was
very
Tony Gilroy
blasé and-
that said that.
yes, so he specifically wanted that to parallel that. So
Well, it worked.
it really worked.
Yeah, it
was pretty
really
obvious.
worked, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd say like it's really cool having Krennic back and Ben Mendelsohn.
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 Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's also cool to see him making these decisions on essentially peak Krennic, right? Krennic before,
Rogue
because
One.
he's making
Yeah.
very different character choices than Krennic in Rogue One. But this
Mhm.
is also Krennic without Tarkin breathing down his neck and taking credit for his success, right?
Yeah.
So
I
like,
love it.
he's much more reckless. He's much more, mustache
Cocky.
twirling in
Mhm.
in the film because he has so much more at stake and he has a little bit more desperate versus here he's he's the king of his literally the king of his mountain.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. That,
Also,
and of
so
course, like, yeah, that was disturbing and great.
so very interesting because okay, going back to that, how we've referenced the line from Saw Gerrera about all the different factions he mentions. He does mention the Gorman Front, right? And
Mhm.
now we're hearing Deidre saying what you need is a rebel presence to make the wrong choices.
They can be counted on to do the wrong thing. And then,
Counted
of
on to
course,
do
they
the wrong
show
thing,
us
right?
the exact type of people, or maybe even the exact group of people
So
who can be
so
counted on to do the wrong thing.
well, I mean, it's a question of so like, is she going to infiltrate the Gorman Front? Is she going to incite
Fabricate,
them? I
wag the
mean,
dog.
presumably that the Gorman Front already exists in some capacity.
Mhm.
How active they are, who knows? So we've already heard them referenced, but like, okay, so this is I'm just speculating at this point. I don't think it's like spoiler or anything, but what if it turns into that she and Cyril basically go to Gorman as undercover to basically join the Gorman Front?
Maybe.
That would be interesting. or they go in,
Because that
they
way,
try to.
if she does that, that's also her way of also sneakily trying to figure out who is Axis.
Mhm.
Can we get cutaways of them doing the dirty and spiders being killed at the same time?
Yeah, it.
She's the top.
Oh, for
I'm
sure.
really, I don't know. I'm really curious
He's
where they're
being
gonna
pegged.
go.
Carol,
Definitely, he's a sub, and he likes it.
so
Oh yeah.
Cyril.
Um, yeah, no, I mean, what they play, I don't. Yeah, gosh, okay. The tender moment with them, and she places her hand on his cheek and just kind of rubs her thumb against his lips. It's like there's no kiss, there's no hug. It's just this kind of
It's
weird,
tender,
controlling
but it's
but
also
tender. Yeah, it is so twisted in such a brilliant way because it's like you believe the connection in this gesture, but it is also just kind of icky.
But he loves it. The way he
Yeah,
was looking at her when he looked back at her, and he's
I mean
like,
they
Yeah.
both do. And again, it's like again, I watch it and I go, I'm sympathetic for this couple, for this pairing. I'm investing
Yeah.
in their pairing.
Yeah.
Um, it also makes me feel uh like one of them is gonna turn on the other at some point, right?
Oh, I think there's a really fair chance of that happening.
It's like
I honestly think that if anybody flips, it would be Cyril, because he obviously, his upbringing with, constantly having, his mother's metaphorical boot on his neck,
yeah.
and traded it for the Empire's, and now Dedra's very dommy mommy boot on his neck. um I think he's comfortable with authority, and is very loyal to it,
But he
which
also
is, I
wants
think, one of.
power, right? He's like,
Well, he also wants power, but he seems to, he wants power, but he really cared about, justice for the men on on
yeah,
Morlana, like, for the, like, Primor Corporation. He really wanted justice for the guys he worked with, and he was really harping on that. So I think if anybody's going to have kind of a jarring, especially if they do what you think and do undercover on Gorman, seeing, I think he might be a little less aware of, the actual nitty gritty of, like, how the Empire treats people, because he's
right.
not the one who's there for the tortures yet, and the genocide. If anyone's going to be shaken of the two of them, it will be him. Dedra was, like, stoked to have Biggs tortured.
Right.
So
I'm remembering the word I was looking for before. Cyril gives me big incel energy.
oh yeah.
maybe it's
Um,
a deprivation kink. Maybe she's got him in a
yeah,
chastity belt.
He's a little less insilly this season than he was last season, though,
totally.
because now he's getting some.
But it would be interesting to see
Or at
if
least he's getting
if
edged
he was
and
if
pegged.
he was offered a position of authority, would he sell out Deidre? What do you think?
I can't
it would
root for
depend
them.
on
I
circumstance.
don't know.
Also, we had a death. We had a death in the family. Remember, guys?
Yeah.
We had a death in the
Oh,
family. That one,
Brasso.
yeah, they definitely pulled the rug out in front of me on that one. I was like, wait, we haven't seen him in too long, and
I
then
mean,
we see the bike, and I was
the,
like,
the
no.
crazy thing is that they did the visual cue where you see the one stormtrooper who's very carefully lining up the shot. They
Mhm.
zoom in on him and then they cut
And you
away.
never see the result.
You
You're like,
never
what
see
happened?
the result, but it's like these, like they told you it was happening right there, and it was
Mhm.
like, oh my god.
All because Willman was thinking with his willy.
Seriously.
Mad at him.
um, oh gosh, and he also has that great moment. The landowner who's been there looking out for them and trying to help them get papers and all that.
Hmm.
And of course, he gets walked in by the troopers, and he sees him, and he's like, "I see how it is. You turn us in right away. Whatever,
Yeah.
right?" And you can see like the landowner is like he gets confused for a little bit, but then like they look at each other and they just nod at each other, and it's like,
Giving him cover,
just great,
plausible
yeah,
Yeah.
deniability.
yeah.
It makes me feel like his death wasn't just all for nothing, because he saved a lot of people before
Mhm.
it happened, even though he wasn't
And
able to get
he
away.
saved the family that's gonna keep doing their Underground Railroad type stuff. So
But
he's got his chance to help more people.
I'm of two minds on this because yes, because he has that one moment of heroism, but also in the grand scheme of things, it is a death for nothing. It is an empty
Yeah.
death
He
because it
didn't
is
need to
still
die.
because
Well, he
it is
didn't need to
still
die.
he didn't need to die, and it was still like this again bringing us back to the question. I mean, just the
Is it
look
worth it?
of Cassian on the TIE Avenger, looking back at Bix completely just distraught and empty when
Mhm.
after she's realized that Brazo's dead. And and it brings us back to that initial question of, is it worth it? If I die today, is it worth it? Um, yeah.
Bix needs a beach episode. Like,
Go
Get
back
that
to
girl to rise
Niamos.
up. I know. I
yeah,
know.
seriously.
Yeah. Also,
Which
yeah, just notable that the kick-in track, the track that slaps, as the kids say, is the Niamos track from season one.
A
Again,
yeah,
DJ
great.
disco ball droid plays for 12 hours straight.
Oh my God.
yeah. And if you think,
That's another
yeah,
great thing, right? The droid that we have been seeing as a torture droid suddenly gets a bunch of woofers and the kid a
that's
freaking
that's his
There's not
brother. Their
even
mom's
like
not as proud of them.
there's not even like
That's
drops
the
in the
torture
beat.
droid's brother. That's the torture droid's brother, and his mother is not as proud of him.
yes, yes. Brilliant.
So yeah.
Any other moments you guys want to highlight? Any other things that really stuck out to you?
Mm.
I think I hit most of
Oh
Yeah.
Mara's
well,
stuff.
when Vel and Mon had a moment, kind of implying like, "So where's your girl Cinta?" Or no, was that with
Oh no,
Clea? Was
Clea.
that with Clea?
Yes, that's right. The
Yeah,
moment
it
with
was with
Clea.
Clea. So yeah, so she has that like little sharp verbal fencing match with Clea, and Clea basically asks Vel like, "Where's your girl?"
Yeah.
And Vel's trying to keep it together for all of the obvious reasons. And we, at the very end, get a lovely, just again, like I said, poetic, chillingly poetic answer to that question when Vel is leaving the wedding. Luthen's delivered his, he's talked to Mon and said, what Tay's number, the hush money number, actually is.
Yeah.
Because there is no number. Tay needs to like go to a farm up north, and implies that heavily, like they're gonna Godfather him. He's gonna, yeah, no,
Yeah.
Tay's done. Tay's cooked, and you're like, oh, I wonder how that's gonna go down. And then just
And now we know.
reinforcing what Cinta had said in season one. We've already seen she's a stone cold killer. She tells Vel the rebellion comes first. We get the scraps, if anything at all, and we have to be content with that. And you see how hard her commitment is, because Vel had no idea they were on the same planet. Oh, by the way,
Yeah.
I'm here to assassinate somebody. Bye.
And of course, Clea knew that was her assignment, right? I mean,
Yeah.
um, other thing also, yeah, just the great from the actress playing Cinta too of, you know, the smiley, sorry, your
The
regular
customer
driver's gone,
service
and then she turns
smile
and looks at Vel, and then it's the 9 mile stare.
with the same customer service smile pasted on. Oh,
I gotta say, between Cinta and her new turn as the new companion on Doctor Who, she that actress is climbing up to the top of my island.
yeah, good for her. She's fantastic.
Yeah, killing it.
One last Easter egg. Tony Gilroy's son is the neo Republican with the long hair who looks like he really wants to be in a Viking show. That's Sam Gilroy.
Oh, right.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I know what
Also
you're talking
calling back
about.
to that same scene you were talking about, Lexi. Another great moment of Vel and Clea sparring, and she says, just two single ladies just looking at the options, and then Vel just looks her up and down and turns around and walks away.
Yeah. No thanks.
It's like
No
a straight
thanks.
Aw.
profile down, up, walk away.
No.
I feel like sans glasses, I'm kind of channeling Clea right now.
Mhm.
I like that they have Clea and Leda, and Leda's name is pronounced a little differently, but it's one letter off of Leia, and Clea's name is pronounced Clea, but it's spelled differently.
Yeah.
But you still have Leia's name tucked in there twice, sort of.
So okay.
Oh, we didn't even talk
other
about the guy that Mon Mothma, like in Rebels, he serves Mon Mothma, and then they had a whole conversation about how his mom was from Gorman,
Oh yeah.
like he was
Yeah.
born on Naboo or
Mhm.
something, and we're gonna see more of him.
We're gonna see more of
Erskine,
him.
Erskine or
Yeah.
Yeah, the of course also
Oh yeah,
watching
Duke Erskine, yeah.
Luthen work the crowd and go, "Oh, you're stationed over there. Where is everyone right now?"
yeah, yep.
Mhm.
So there's too much to talk about, and
There's
I
a
need to
lot.
go.
It's a lot. It's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
So really quickly before we shut down, any predictions, hopes, thoughts for the next 3 arcs?
Lexi
I
looks
mean, I
like she
hope
wants
we
to
get more
talk.
Dedra backstory.
More
I
Dedra
hope we get
backstory.
more Dedra backstory. Or I don't know if we'll have time with all the condensed, but maybe we get some more Clea development. That would be nice.
I want to. Yeah, I would love more, or not more, but maybe just some explanation of origin story for Clea and Luthen.
Hmm. Yeah.
What? How
Some
many
little-
episodes are there going to be? Just
Uh,
6?
Totally 12. So
12.
it's
Oh, okay. Okay.
four arcs of 3. Each
Okay.
3 is a
That's
different
right.
year
That's right. And they're releasing the 3 at
every week.
yeah. I got it.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's gonna go by quick. Almost too quick, right? I kind of want to savor
No,
this a
I
little
know.
bit.
I still think we're going to see um Leda die. Is it Leda or Leda? Leda,
I think you're right. I think Leda.
Mon Mothma's daughter. I still
Yeah.
think we're going to see her die.
Something I would want to
Or turn her
see,
mother in.
something that I would want to see, but I don't think we will because I just don't think there's a place for it in this series. But uh, I would have loved for them to give some time to Mon Mothma, like kind of pseudo taking Leia under her wing. But
Mm,
I don't think there's time for that in this format. Um,
I don't
but
think so in
but
this format
particularly
either, but
particularly
that would be
in the
cool.
context of losing Leda the way she has, it would be interesting to watch her build a relationship with Leia. But oh well,
Mhm.
zero hope for that.
You could have a little New Hope. New Hope.
You could
A
have
little New Hope as a treat.
unlimited power, as Krennic
Well,
says.
trap. It's a trap in
Unlimited
every single thing.
power.
Every single Star Wars.
I mean, look, here's the thing. You could have Genevieve O'Reilly, and what is the terrific actress, the young actress, uh, uh, Vivian Lyra Blair, who played young Leia in Obi-Wan. When she gets old enough, you could have her and Genevieve O'Reilly do a Mon Mothma and young Leia.
I'm
Could
on the.
Comedy?
I mean that's true. You could
That
do
would be a cool storyline.
you could do a
You
little
could do a
spin-off.
miniseries. You
Yeah,
could
like
do
a
a
little spin-off
miniseries,
miniseries or
not
spin-off
a
like one shot,
3-part,
right? You could.
like a 3-part maybe.
I mean, because that's true. These are only 3 days representing one year. There's plenty of gaps in the middle if they really want to come back to any of those middle
Mhm.
parts, which could be interesting.
So see you next year, guys.
Fingers crossed. All right. I think that's gonna wrap it up. If there's nothing else we can think of,
And next week we're going to be talking about the next 3 that
the
come out
next 3, which is
tomorrow.
coming out tomorrow.
Mhm.
So, boy, oh boy, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So thanks for joining us here on the Geekish Network. Please follow the Geekish Network on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook, and subscribe to the channel. We will be releasing the next. Well, not releasing. We will be here again next Monday, talking about the next three. That would be. Well, let's see here. This was 4 BBY. So tomorrow will be 3 BBY, as we count down towards Rogue One.
Oof.
Check the schedules for all the other great shows right here on the Geek Network throughout the week. Thanks on the flight deck to Rodney, and we are the Pod Squadron. Please check out all of our content on podsquadron.com. Like and subscribe. Follow us on Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. For podcast subscriptions, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast app. I am the Chinese Pirate at Chinese Pirate _ on all platforms.
I'm Tracy the Hot Nerd Girl on all the things.
I'm Feral Geek on Facebook and Instagram, and I finally stopped sneezing.
And stick around because I believe Geek Beast is up next, so stay tuned for that. And do we know what Geek Beast is talking about, Rodney? Do we know? Maybe not?
Just whatever nerd news is out there right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Lots of nerd news. All right. Thanks, and all wings return to base. Course laid in and prepared to make the jump to light speed on my mark. And remember, the truths we cling to depend on our own point of view. Only the Sith deal in absolutes. Good night.
Night, guys.